Father, could you tell us what is being filed today and read the letter, the cover letter of this petition?
Thank you very much. Of course, my name is Reverend Father Dr. Augustine Odimegwa. We're here today to submit to the office of the President this Magnitsky Act that we're holding a couple of our judges and attorney generals responsible for the continued incarceration of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in solitary confinement without trial, without due trial. The White House. 3. American Veterans of Igbo Descent, AVID, Rising Sun Charities Organization, and Ambassadors for Self-Determination, submission against Nigerian jurists and the former Attorney General for sanctions under the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act, 22 USC. Dear Mr. President, of course, reading on behalf of Bruce Fine, representing American Veterans of Igbo Descent, Rising Sun Charities Organization, and Ambassadors for Self-Determination. All three are non-profit organizations substantially dedicated to monitoring gross violations of internationally recognized human rights, especially in Nigeria. Pursuant to the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act, 22 USC and EO 13818, the three non-profit organizations urge Magnitsky sanctions against a quintet of Nigerian judges implicated in the persecution of Biafran leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu for exercising his rights to free speech and association and a fair trial. The names include Justice Binta Murtala Yaku, Justice Harma Simon Samani, Justice Harma Akawa Barka, and Justice Mohammed Lawal Garba, and former Chief Justice of Nigeria Olukayode Ariwola. They also seek Magnitsky sanctions against former Attorney General Malam Abubakar Malami. The violations include ongoing arbitrary detention as determined by the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, denial of the right to fair trial, judicial endorsement of Mr. Kanu's kidnapping, torture and extraordinary rendition from Kenya to Nigeria. Nigeria's protracted persecution of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu for peaceful advocacy of a self-determination referendum in Biafra commenced as early as 2015. In September 2017, Nigeria's military attempted to assassinate Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in his hometown. Many were murdered, but he managed to escape by a miracle. In June 2021, Mr. Kanu was kidnapped and tortured by Nigerian authorities in Nairobi, Kenya, followed by extraordinary rendition to Abuja, Nigeria. He has been detained in solitary confinement without trial and without proper access to lawyers ever since. The United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention found on July 20, 2022, that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's detention violated 16 international human rights covenants. It ordered his immediate and unconditional release and the reparations paid. Nigeria has flouted the working group decision for more than 3 years now. On October 26, 2022, the Federal High Court Umuahia declared Mr. Kanu extraordinary rendition unlawful and unconstitutional and awarded damages to him. On December 15, 2023, the Supreme Court of Nigeria, while acknowledging the Nigerian government's extraordinary rendition of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu as criminal, nevertheless decreed that the fruits of its crime, his detention and persecution, were legal.
Bruce, could you tell us about the severity of the violations of justice? I mean, just how gross of an injustice is this, and where did they go off the rails in regards to how they treat Mazi Nnamdi Kanu?
Well, a few pages of history often speaks volumes of logic here. The persecution really began even before the more recent kidnapping and torture in 2021. As far back as September in 2017, there's an attempted assassination through the military to kill Nnamdi and his family and friends. Nnamdi escaped by a miracle. His friends, many of them were killed. And all of this is in violation of the international human right to seek self-determination. Indeed, that right was announced almost 250 years ago in our American Declaration of Independence. The right to government by the consent of the governed, a right that every group enjoys around the world. It wasn't limited to the United States. And the fact is that the Biafrans never joined Nigeria. They were forced at the point of machine guns by the British in 1914 to amalgamate with other portions of Nigeria. But there wasn't any vote, and so there's no need to secede from an organization you never joined. And Nnamdi Kanu has been persecuted mercilessly by the Nigerian government for seeking to defend this right. Now, if we want to compare the persecution with others, Nelson Mandela is a nice benchmark. If you read his memoirs, on Robben Island when he was detained, he lived in a paradise compared to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. He wasn't in solitary confinement. He actually taught and learned from universities with other inmates there. They had games. There wasn't anything like solitary confinement. He had access to lawyers. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu does not. He doesn't even have access to me. I've been 6 times. They say, no, Mr. Fine, you can't visit with him. Even the persons who visit with him, they can't take in any pencils, no papers. Everything is recorded. Everything is videoed. There's no privacy whatsoever. So again, if we want to take a comparison with Nelson Mandela, who ended up being not only a Nobel Peace Prize winner, but an international hero, he suffered far more grotesquely. And it's continuing to this very day after 4 years. Now, I'd like to amplify for our audience here as well, the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act empowers the President to identify foreigners who are guilty of gross violations of human rights, freeze their assets, and ban them from ever traveling to the United States. And that's what we're asking happen in this particular case with regard to the 6 individuals that we identified in our petition. Now, one of the other elements that comes from the Global Magnitsky listing is it's a stigma. It puts you in the same category as notorious, horrible human rights violators, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Kim Il-sung in North Korea, anyway, all the ones that you remember by reading in the newspapers. And we would hope that the Nigerians would wake up. This is simply the opening shot, if you will, of trying to obtain justice for Nnamdi Kanu. If others do not change...
Igbo veterans in the U.S. submitted a letter to the office of the president in the United States of America. You know, they don't submit now. They are creating awareness about, although the U.S. already know, but creating awareness about, more awareness about the detention of, illegal detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Understand? Why did it take them this long? You know, before they will act, do anything to help that man. You know, he has been in detention for the past how many years now? You know, and he has not been given any fair trial. You call it fair trial. Why are they adjourning every sitting? They go adjourn. You know, no reasonable reason why. No clear reason. I mean, why adjournment? You know, why did it take these people this long? What thing they vex me about my Igbo people sometimes, you understand? They use This sometimes they use things like this to, you know, to make themselves, I don't know what I would call them, relevant. You know, political. They create political awareness for themselves, to be seen. You know, that kind of thing. You know, I hope what they are doing is genuine. I'm my own, because I'm not gonna watch the video.